As baseball has evolved, it's become less and less common for players to spend their entire careers with a single team. Not only does it make someone synonymous with a team and region, but shows loyalty that is more than commendable. Few embodied that virtue better than Kaline, who spent his entire 22-year career and decades beyond with the Detroit Tigers. Because of that, he is simply known to many as Mr. Tiger. This is the Baseball Time Machine. The Detroit Tigers signed 18-year-old Kaline the day after he graduated from Southern High School in Baltimore. Giving him a $15,000 bonus to accompany his $20,000 salary, Kaline was deemed a bonus baby, forcing him to completely bypass the minor leagues. Detroit had finished last in 1952 for the first time in franchise history, and were determined to escape the cellar as quickly as possible. Kaline was sprung into action midway through the 1953 campaign, and although he only appeared in 30 games, he held his own, impressing skipper Fred Hutchinson. Hutch introduced young Al to his idol, Ted Williams. In only 10 minutes together, the splendid splinter gave the rookie tips about hitting low pitches and proper off-season workouts. In winter ball that year, Tigers outfielder Steve Suchok suffered a broken wrist, opening the door for Kaline to get valuable spring training time and earn the starting spot in his absence. He would go on to hold that position for almost 20 years. Now wearing the number 6, a number he would quickly become synonymous with, Kaline was able to settle in and make great strides as Detroit's starting right fielder. He impressed with his defense, but wasn't quite there yet at the plate. In his first full season, he hit a solid .276, but only recorded 25 extra base hits in 138 games. 1955, his age 20 season, would be the year he cemented himself as one of the best bats in baseball. No one was hotter that April, as he hit .429 and finished the month on a 14-game hitting streak. Kaline continued to play at a high level, and was voted to the All-Star game as the American League starting right fielder. By the end of July, number 6 led the AL in batting average, runs, RBI, hits, and homers. A September slump slowed him down a bit, but he still finished 1955 with incredible numbers. He led all of baseball with 200 hits. No one had a higher batting average than Al's .340, making him the youngest batting champion ever at the time, beating fellow Detroit legend Ty Cobb by a single day. He finished second in AL MVP voting, trailing only Yankees backstop Yogi Berra. Looking at their numbers side by side, it definitely could have been Kaline who took home the award. Kaline and Ty Cobb met during spring training in 1956, and the Georgia Peach gave number 6 words that he would play by for the rest of his career. Dating back to the season prior, Kaline continued to draw comparisons to Joe DiMaggio, who had just been enshrined in Cooperstown. Immortals of the game seemed to surround Al every chance they could. It began to feel as if he was destined to join them. He started slow out of the gate, but was still voted to start the Midsummer Classic for the second straight season. In the face of a slump, Kaline again sought Ted Williams' advice, who preached patience and discipline at the plate. Coming from a man who led the league in walks 8 times, these were wise words. Following their conversation, Kaline went on a tear, raising his batting average from .276 to .314. This, along with a career-high 128 RBI, propelled him to a third-place finish in AL MVP voting. Al received high praise from his idol following another impressive showing. Unfortunately, drama arose in the offseason that would temporarily derail him from fan-favorite status. Kaline had a big 1956, only trailing Mickey Mantle and Yogi Berra in the MVP race. While the Bronx Bombers were paying Mick $60K, Kaline was receiving a mere $15,000 from Detroit. Given the numbers he was putting up, it seemed fair for Al to be given a substantial raise. The Tigers offered him a new contract, but one that only included a $3,000 addition to what he was making. After Kaline sent the document back unsigned, team president Spike Briggs grew incensed, going public with the dispute and making it clear that he felt his own star outfielder was lesser than Mantle. When the team returned to Tiger Stadium for the regular season, Tigers fans booed Kaline for what had occurred, treating him as a selfish and greedy ballplayer. Although this treatment wouldn't last, it did affect Al's perception of the fans and media, causing him to grow colder towards them. He let his play do the talking, and posted another productive season in 1957, batting .295 with 23 homers and 90 RBI. He was selected to the All-Star game and won his first Gold Glove award. Defense was an underrated aspect of Kaline's game, one that still isn't talked about enough in the present day. While the Tigers continued to sit around 500, Kaline kept playing his best ball. His power numbers in 1958 took a slight step back, but he managed to raise his batting average back over .300 while winning another Gold Glove. 1959 was even better for number 6. Following an injury to Harvey Keene, Kaline moved to center field and thrived, playing well enough to earn the start over Mickey Mantle in the All-Star game. He finished the season leading the American League in slugging and OPS. No one in the AL walked intentionally more times than he did either. He posted a .327 batting average, the second best mark of his career and second best in the AL, trailing only teammate Harvey Keene. He took home his third Gold Glove award as well. It was no doubt one of his finest campaigns. Detroit experienced some turnover in 1960, with Bill DeWitt joining the front office as the new president and general manager. He shook up the team with a few key moves, adding Norm Cash and trading the defending batting champ Keane for defending co-AL home run king Rocky Colavito. The season would be a mess for the Tigers, who by August had swapped managers with Cleveland, trading Jimmy Dykes for Joe Gordon in a move you'll likely never see again. Kaline wasn't the sharpest, with many of his numbers down from the year prior. The biggest concern was Al's .278 average, his lowest mark since 1954. Luckily, Kaline and the Tigers would both turn things around in 1961. DeWitt's moves paid off the following year. Cash and Colavito were incredible, both slugging over 35 homers, giving Kaline some much-needed help on offense. New manager Bob Sheffing challenged the now 9-year vet to step up and become a leader. Al took to the task and led by example, flourishing all season. He led all of baseball in doubles, raised his average 46 points from the year prior, won his 4th Gold Glove, and earned AL Comeback Player of the Year honors. The Tigers were much improved as a team, winning 101 games, but were still stuck behind the Yankees. Nonetheless, 1961 felt like a big step forward for the franchise. Al Kaline's importance to the Tigers was emphasized in 1962. He suffered a broken collarbone after making a game-saving catch against the Yankees, causing him to miss 54 games, the most he'd ever missed in a season at that point. Without their leader and star player, Detroit began a free fall in the standings. When Kaline was in, he was outstanding, and the team's results reflected that. In only 100 games, he managed to hit .304 with a career-high 29 homers and 94 RBI. Mr. Tiger followed up 1962 with another great year. He slugged 27 homers and his RBI total returned above the century mark for the first time in 7 years. Kaline was in the batting title race all season until a lingering knee injury threw him off his game in September, allowing Carl Yastrzemski to take the crown. He did, however, manage to win his 6th Gold Glove while taking silver in AL MVP voting, once again trailing a Yankee, this time Elston Howard. The 50s and 60s were tough times if you weren't a Bronx Bomber. From 1950 to 1963, 10 of the 14 AL MVP awards found a home in New York. They also won 8 of 14 Fall Classics. But don't let the lack of hardware distract you from the fact that Al Kaline was playing elite baseball, assembling one of the best careers in Tigers history. The next few years were mostly positive for Kaline, although a lifelong foot issue began to really act up. He played through it when he could, and it didn't stop him from receiving All-Star nods and Gold Glove awards. Slowly but surely, the Tigers began to go deeper and deeper into the annual pennant race, reaching 2nd place in 1967. Detroit battled all year and finished the season only 1 game behind the pennant-winning Red Sox. Kaline had a great season despite a broken hand that caused him to miss 31 games. He hit .308 with 25 round trippers, including the 300th of his career. At age 32, he claimed his 10th and final Gold Glove award. All of the personal success was nice, but what Al really wanted was to play in the Fall Classic. It just so happened that 1968 would finally be the year he got his wish. 1968 was eventful to say the least. At the height of the second deadball era, Al Kaline made history, slugging his 307th career homer on May 19th to pass Hank Greenberg for the most ever by a Tiger. Bad luck struck only 6 days later, as Kaline was hit by a pitch, suffering a broken arm that would keep him out for almost 2 months. When he returned, he was used sparingly, mostly as a pinch hitter and backup first baseman. Despite the reduced playing time, number 6 still managed to play a prominent role in Detroit's run for the pennant. On September 17, Kaline scored the winning run on Don Wirtz's walk-off single to defeat the Yankees and finally claim the American League pennant. 16 years into his big league career, Al Kaline and the Tigers were going to the World Series. Al was healthy when it mattered most, starting all 7 games of the Fall Classic. He hit .379 with 2 homers and 8 driven in, helping Detroit overcome a 3-1 series deficit to defeat Bob Gibson and the Cardinals. It was the Tigers' first World Series victory since 1948, and would be the lone title of Al Kaline's legendary career. With one mission accomplished, Al Kaline looked towards his other goal, playing 20 years in the major leagues. He continued to hit and gain accolades as he inched closer to the 2-decade mark. In 1969, he was voted the greatest Tiger team of all time. By this point, the salary dispute from years before had been forgiven and forgotten, and Kaline was truly cherished by the Detroit faithful. A year later, on August 2nd, the Tigers held Al Kaline Day, in which the city renamed Cherry Street to Kaline Drive. It's extremely rare that you see a street named after an active player. It just goes to show how important Al was to the city and community that surrounded him. Tiger Stadium played home to the 1971 Midsummer Classic, where Al Kaline was selected for the 17th time. In the American League's 6-4 victory, Kaline went 1 for 2 with a run scored off the bench. 15 years after his heated salary battle with Tigers ownership, he was offered the team's first ever $100,000 deal, but wouldn't take it. Al Kaline, almost 2 decades into a Cooperstown caliber career, didn't feel deserving of the new contract. It was never about the money for Mr. Tiger. It was all about respect and having his worth validated. 1972 was a special season for Al Kaline. Not only did it mark his 20th season in the biz, completing his 2nd goal, but it was the last productive season of his wonderful career. He hit over 300 for the ninth and final time, and although his ability to hit for extra bases had lessened, he did enough to help the Tigers reach the postseason. He made an impact down the stretch, batting .460 in the final 15 games to help Detroit edge Boston for the division title. They went the distance with the Oakland A's in the championship series, who were just beginning their run of 3 straight world titles. It would be Al Kaline's last taste of the postseason, batting .263 with a homer, and the 3rd highest championship win probability added on the team. Following Roberto Clemente's tragic death in December 1972, Major League Baseball renamed their Commissioner's Award after Clemente, a privilege given every year in recognition of the honor one brings to baseball on and off the field. In 1973, Kaline was the first player to win the award since its renaming. The positive light he shined on baseball was recognized in not only Detroit, but across the league. Al Kaline made history in 1974. Now as a full-time designated hitter, Mr. Tiger reached his 18th All-Star game in his 22nd and final season. On September 24th, he joined some of baseball's most prestigious company, ripping a double off of Baltimore's Dave McNally for the 3,000th hit of his career. The knock made him only the 12th member of the 3,000 hit club. Following the milestone, Kaline announced that he would retire at the end of the year. He appeared in his final game on October 2nd, fittingly against his hometown team, the Baltimore Orioles. The storybook closed on the career of Al Kaline, a career spanning over 2 decades, all spent with the club that signed him at 18 years old. Looking at his career numbers, Al Kaline's stats might not jump off the screen. However, they simply require a greater understanding. Considering he missed 594 career games, the equivalent of about 2.5 seasons, the statistics are impressive. His 399 career home runs are the most all-time for someone who never hit 30 in a season. He hit over 309 times. He scored a career .987 fielding percentage, while leading the AL in right field assists 3 times, and fielding percentage among all outfielders twice. It's no wonder that he won 10 Gold Glove awards. No Detroit Tiger has played more games, hit more home runs, or drawn more walks than Al Kaline. Only Ty Cobb has recorded more hits, total bases, and runs batted in. Kaline walked over 200 more times than he struck out. His plate discipline was up there with the best. Although Kaline had wrapped up his time on the field, he was by no means done with the game of baseball. He spent 25 years as Tigers broadcaster, as well as serving as a guest instructor during spring training. He's largely credited with teaching a young Kirk Gibson about playing the outfield. In 1980, he became the first player in Tigers history to have their number retired. That same year, he was forever enshrined in Cooperstown, being elected into the Baseball Hall of Fame in his first year on the ballot. Al made an appearance at the 1999 All-Star Game, selected as a finalist for the MLB All-Century team. Later that year, Detroit celebrated the final game at Tiger Stadium. It couldn't be a celebration without Mr. Tiger himself, who before the game spoke on the behalf of more than 1,300 Tigers who had stood on that hallowed ground.
Tiger Stadium strength lies not in its dazzling architecture or creature comforts, but rather in its character, charm, and history. And while common materials may have been used to build this place, concrete, steel, and bricks, the memories are the cement that has held it together for 88 wonderful seasons.
In 2001, he left the broadcast booth and joined the front office, becoming a special advisor to team owner Mike Ilitch. He would remain in the front office until his passing in 2020. No matter where you look, the last 60-plus years of Tigers baseball have involved the great Al Kaline in some capacity. They don't call him Mr. Tiger for nothing. Al Kaline made a career out of being a Detroit Tiger. He arrived at 18 years old and never really left for the next 66 years. His loyalty set an example that has been followed by some of the game's best. His spirit will be felt long after his passing. There only is one Mr. Tiger. This has been the Baseball Time Machine. Thanks for traveling with me.